All right, well, good morning. Welcome back to Breakfast with the Bible. It's been some time since I've been on here, and I'm probably sure if you've watched any of my videos, you'll recognize that the scenery changes every once in a while. Haven't quite figured out the permanent situation. So I do the recording in my garage, and I've moved it around a couple of times and trying to figure out the best place for it, but haven't quite got there yet. So this is another try, I guess you could say. Obviously, from the stuff behind me, it's not ideal, but we'll get to there. We'll figure something out eventually. So if you're just joining us, this is the first time. I'm in a series that I'm trying to take us through the Psalms, doing a study of each individual psalm, depending on how long they are. We break them up based on passages and whatnot. But it's been a while since I've been on here, and for no serious reason, just haven't had time. Just kind of doing a lot of other things, and this is so I felt kind of, I guess, maybe bad that I haven't done it in a while. So I want to try to catch up on it, because there are 150 some psalms, so it's a long journey, and I'm hoping to kind of intermingle some other studies in the midst of that as well. But right now we are actually, I haven't even finished Psalm 68 yet, so this is what we're going to try to do here. So again, if you're just joining us, this is the first time you've been here, feel free to peruse all the previous videos, all the previous studies, and I look forward to doing more. Again, I hope to be more regular again, like I used to. Used to do it every day, but that was becoming too much, and I've got other things going on now. So I'm going to try to do this as often as I can. I don't want to rush it, but it's been a while. So we're in Psalm 68. I read from the King James, and we're doing verses 28 to 35. So I'll read through it, and then we'll go back and cover each verse at a time. So it says, "Thy God hath commanded thy strength. Strengthen, O God, that which thou hast wrought for us. Because of thy temple at Jerusalem shall kings bring presents unto thee. Rebuke the company of spearmen, the multitude of the bulls, with the calves of the people, till every one submit himself with pieces of silver. Scatter thou the people that delight in war. Princes shall come out of Egypt. Ethiopia shall soon stretch out her hands unto God. Sing unto God, ye kingdoms of the earth. O sing praises unto the Lord, Selah. To him that rideth upon the heavens of heavens, which were of old, lo, he doth send out his voice, and that a mighty voice. Ascribe ye strength unto God. His excellency is over Israel, and his strength is in the clouds. O God, thou art terrible. Out of the holy places, the God of Israel is he that giveth strength and power unto his people. Blessed be God." So verse 28, "Thy God hath commanded thy strength." This is a twofold statement. The Lord commands the strength of his people. God's people are commanded on several occasions to be strong. The uniqueness of being a believer is to be able to be strong in unlikely situations. But when God commands something from us, he obligates himself to provide for us the capability to accomplish it. God commands strength, which in itself is a command to surrender to him, because the strength he requires of us must needs be sourced by him. David finishes this verse, "O God, that which thou hast wrought for us." He finishes it with a cry for continued strength in what lies ahead. Looking at verse 29, "Because of thy temple at Jerusalem shall kings bring presents unto thee." This is a statement of David's confidence. Now, if you've seen any of our previous studies in Psalms, and primarily the ones by David, you'll see his confidence in God, his undeniable confidence, no matter what the situation. Now, yeah, he kind of takes a dip every once in a while as far as his emotions goes. But David's confidence never really ends. It's always there. So a certainty that God's chosen people will have victory in the end. This is David's confidence. He says, because of thy temple at Jerusalem, shall kings bring presents unto thee. This is a statement of significant confidence in David because he's looking for the future. The commentator Boyce wrote this. He said, ultimately, this speaks of a time still in the future. Excuse me, let me turn my notes. In the future that, well, I have them backwards. Here we go. No, excuse me. Let me figure out where I was at because I just lost my place. That's embarrassing. That's okay. It happens. So maybe not. I might have to edit that one out here in a minute. Okay, here we go. Excuse me. All right, back to where we are. So it's ultimately, this speaks of a time still in the future when Jesus will actually reign on earth, the millennium. Though there is certainly a kind of fulfillment now through Christian obedience to the Great Commission and the resulting advance of worldwide Christianity. Now, looking at verses 30 and 31, rebuke the company of spearmen, or rebuke the beasts of the reeds, is what he's saying here. The multitude of the bulls, or the herd of the bulls, with the calves of the people, till every one submit himself with pieces of silver. Scatter thou the people that delight in war. Princes shall come out of Egypt. Ethiopia shall soon stretch out her hands unto God. David prays for the protection against beasts and bulls, or oppressors and troublers. So he's not speaking specifically about animals. He's referring to the oppressors and the troublers and the ones who push against him. This is David's request. Keep his people safe until the day when all nations submit with tribute to Jerusalem. David is sure this day will come. He doesn't know exactly when, but he's confident in God's promise. He believes that this is going to happen. So he's asking for strength. He says, keep his people safe until this day when the nations submit, when every knee shall bow and every tongue confess that Jesus Christ is Lord. Keep your people safe. This appears to be an image of something much greater, a universal prayer for God's people. Protect us until the day when every knee bows and every tongue confesses that Jesus Christ is Lord. I love what Spurgeon says. He says, old foes shall be new friends. Solomon shall find a spouse in Pharaoh's house. Christ shall gather a people from the realms of sin. Great sinners shall yield, let's try this again with my notes here, shall yield themselves to the scepter of grace, and great men shall become good men by coming to God. Verse 32, sing unto God, ye kingdoms of the earth. O sing praises unto the Lord, Selah. So, with the knowledge and understanding that God will indeed have ultimate victory, David's transitions into the invitation for the nations to worship God now. Much better to coming before God willingly in humble surrender than to do it later as defeated enemy of God. My dog's walking around the garage here. Looking at verse 33, to him that rideth upon the heavens of heavens, which were of old, lo, he doth send out his voice, and that a mighty voice. To him that rideth upon the heavens of heavens. God, who is infinitely far above the infinite. God is high above the highest and even higher still. Now, this term of old is olam in the Hebrew, which looks not only backward to the past, but forward to the future. It is defined as perpetuity or constant. It's constant without beginning or end. So it's consistently moving yet it never actually started. It's always been. And this word lo, or indeed, he sends out his voice. The voice that created all that is created. The voice that can pierce the heavens. The voice that can melt the hardest of hearts. The voice gentle enough to comfort the weary and fearful. A voice mighty both in power and gentleness. Looking at verse 34, ascribe ye strength unto God. His excellency is over Israel, and his strength is in the clouds. It says ascribe. That means acknowledge. It doesn't mean give something to him. It means acknowledge what he already has. Acknowledge the strength of God. Recognize his excellency. There was a great blessing in understanding God's strength, God's authority. Seeing God's position rightly helps us to see ours rightly as well, thus validating our need to trust in him. And then verse 35, O God, thou art terrible. Now, King James, this word terrible is awesome. So we tend to, sometimes with King James, we tend to ascribe, and I'm using that word as giving, the wrong kind of definition based on our understanding of the English language. So the reason I like King James is because it requires me to dig deeper to figure out what it actually means. It's hard to understand in some places, so that gives me motivation to dig and to figure it out. So that little rabbit trail. So God, O God, thou art terrible out of thy holy places. The God of Israel is he that giveth strength and power unto his people. Blessed be God. There is an understanding here that the land of Israel was God's holy place. And still David clearly recognized that God was even greater than any holy place. God is so holy and yet is actively involved in his people. For that reason, and even infinitely more, he should be praised. In closing, now this wasn't a very long one, but getting back into the groove. In closing, while we still are not closer to knowing the details behind this psalm, like I said, if you look back into the previous times we covered this particular psalm, it's a very difficult psalm to understand. While we don't necessarily know more about it, we know David understood certain things about God, and we can see that through all of his writings. God reigns over all things. We have a victory in him that cannot be revoked. He is worthy to be praised. And no matter what the enemy looks like, if God be for us, who can be against us? Now, this idea here that God reigns over all things, I think of the word sovereign. So how can God be sovereign and in control of all things, and yet we have free will to do whatever we want? So I think of a chess game. Now, consider this, that God knows the end result. He knows the end of the chess game. As a matter of fact, there is a desired end that he has already put in place. So the chess game is going to end the way he said that it's going to end. But every pawn and every figure in this game has a choice on which place it's going to go. Now, that doesn't change the fact that it's going to end a specific way. God uses what he knows is going to happen. He knows the choices we're going to make by our own free will. And he coordinates his plan based on that foreknowledge. It doesn't take away our free will. It just means that he knows what it's going to be. Doesn't mean that he controls our choices. It just means that he's already prescribed the end result. And so it doesn't matter what we do, it doesn't affect his desired end. And so since we can't can't see that far ahead, it doesn't really make any difference to us. So this is how God can be sovereign and in control, and you can still have free will to choose to follow him or to not, or to do this or to that. God knows the end of the game. It's his desired end, and he'll use the movement of the opposition in a way where he can move his figures around to best come to the end that he's desiring. So that was a little bit more than I anticipated, but the word reign kind of put me in that direction, and I've been thinking about it for a little bit. So we have this confusion. We try to think that, well, if God's in control, then we can't make choices. Well, that's basically how it's done. You don't affect God's end of the story by what you do. God already knows what you're going to do, and therefore his end can't be changed. The end of the story can't be changed because God's already put it in place. But he coordinated everything to react and to be arranged based on the choices that we're going to make. There are choices. And it doesn't remove anything from us. It doesn't take away any kind of theoretical control that we have over our lives. They are both simultaneously acceptable. God's sovereign will, sovereign plan, control of everything, and our choices work in conjunction with each other because God already knows what they're going to be. So, again, that was a little bit of a jaunt into a different direction, but it just seemed like the right place to throw it. So the next one will be Psalm 69, verses 1 to 12, and I hope to do it soon. If you have any suggestions, like I said, I don't have to do Psalms every time. It's a journey either way. We can throw in some different topical studies or whatever, those kinds of things. Feel free to, I've got a link for Twitter on there. I'm on there every once in a while, and you can check it out, say hi, say something. I encourage comments and discussion and things like that. If you like what you hear, if you don't like what you hear, if you disagree, whatever. But do that thing that YouTube watchers do, and they subscribe, they like, they dislike, there's a bell on there. I don't even know what the bell means, but it's irrelevant. But yeah, watch, share. If there's any, like I said, if you've got any comments, any suggestions about my background, what I can do, look at the previous videos and tell me if you liked any of them better. Just throwing that out there. Like I said, just a guy at home doing some Bible study. So nothing special, just me and God's word. And so thank you for watching. God bless. We'll catch you next time. And like I said, if you got any suggestions, let me know. If not, we'll see you either way. Share with your friends. Don't share. Do what you're going to do. Thank you.